NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time. The Cedars is a great restaurant with outstanding Mediterranean food. The Cedars takeout menu is second to none, featuring pizza, stromboli, hoagies, their famous lamb on the rod, and so much more. So when you're hungry and you want that Newcastle taste, make it Cedars. Now with 2 locations in Newcastle, 827 Addis Street on the east side and 1101 Highland Avenue. Call Cedars East 724-658-9260 or Cedars North 724-652-7657. RNA Screen Printing Newcastle is the place to go for signs, shirts, hats, vinyl lettering, embroidery, magnets, vehicle lettering, banners, window decals, and they can put your design on many items. They have decals for vehicles and signs for all your advertising needs. Great selection of sizes and styles of regular or glitter t-shirts. RNA can iron on a logo while you wait and can do any school logo. RNA Screen Printing, 1217 Moravia Street, Newcastle, open Monday through Friday 9 to 4. Call 724-652-2241.
The Beanery Depot and Deli. Coffee, made-to-order subs, snacks, and more. Meatball sandwiches, fresh and hot. Pepperoni rolls, fish sandwiches, chicken, milkshakes. The Beanery Deli. When you're hungry for something special, and it won't cost you a lot of beans.
Welcome to the Cedars Sports Corner, everybody. I am Alex DeLaverson, and we have not been on the air for a while now, for a couple months, but we're back in action and ready to get things rolling. And it feels great to be back and great to talk sports. So we actually have a lot to cover, and one of the main things I want to cover, even though we're about a month and a half to 2 months past this, actually is the Super Bowl. I heard a lot of conversation going on, this past week about if the New England Patriots are bad for football. Are they bad for the NFL? My whole thing with that is I believe the NFL, any sport, any TV show, anything, is always better when you have something to root against. The Dallas Cowboys, they're considered America's team. I don't know how true that still is, but they're definitely one of the most popular, beloved teams. They're also one of the most hated teams. So when you have to root against something or someone, you are drawn to watch it. I think it's good for the NFL to have an antagonist, I would say. It's like everyone versus the Patriots. When the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, it seemed like everyone was rooting against them unless it was fans from Boston or the New England area. And so many of those fans wouldn't have even watched the game to begin with unless, because they were rooting against the Patriots. And I think a lot of their hate comes from the controversy they have had throughout the years. Spygate, Deflategate, Hernandez-gate, they're one of those franchises that are kind of rare in the sense that they started out as the underdogs, the franchises, and then they morphed into the enemy powerhouse. So it's kind of like a rise of the underdog, but the good guy team, the beloved Patriots, all of a sudden became so hated. I also think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they won so many games. Since the 2000s. I think there was only one time they didn't win a conference championship or a AFC East championship out of, 17 years? So Belichick, Brady, the Crafts, that whole organization has won every AFC East championship except one since 2001. That is unbelievable. And me personally, I look at that with admiration. I also look at it with jealousy because, I am a Steeler fan. So, it was very easy to write them off as, an organization that can only win by cheating. The whole Spygate thing. Obviously, Steeler fans were upset. So 2007, they go undefeated until the Super Bowl, and then they lost. But that was actually after Spygate. So they were out on a mission that year to destroy and pummel teams, blow them out, like 55-10 or, as much as they can to make a statement. And they did make a statement, but that was also another reason they became so hated. That was the year they brought in Randy Moss, Wes Welker, so many guys, and they just, took over the NFL by storm. And so they go through, a 7-year period without winning the Super Bowl up until 2014 when they beat the Seattle Seahawks on that well-known goal line call when when Malcolm Butler intercepted Russell Wilson's pass. So during that 7 years, it was easy for the haters, the Steeler fans, to say, see, they can't win unless they have cameras. They can't do this. My whole thing is you still have to go out there and execute. Fast forward 2 more years after that, 2 more seasons, and they beat the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. They come back after being down 28-3. And that upsets people even more. But my whole thing is I can't get mad when I watch greatness. I can't. When I see Tom Brady play, that's greatness. 5 Super Bowls? Are you kidding me? It was almost like the Patriots spotted the Falcons 25 points. It's like, we're still going to win. We'll give them 25 points. We'll give them a few quarters. But we got this. We're going to win anyway. And, even after that blocked extra point in the third quarter, anyone who's followed the NFL attentively knew that the game wasn't over. And it wasn't. And then it goes into overtime, and that's it. But we're going to take a break here on the Cedars Sports Corner, and when we come back, we'll recap a few more things that we haven't gotten to cover the past couple months, and now a word from our sponsors.
Come to Big Polly's Sports Bar in Newcastle.
The place is spacious with all the seating you'll need, with 2 bars and a huge menu that features wings, pizza, sandwiches, burgers, pasta, and fries.
Big Polly's
Is just right to watch the game. You'll love the sports memorabilia throughout the bar. There's plenty of parking too.
Big Polly's Sports Bar
In Newcastle at 207 East Long Avenue. Call 724-658-8800. That's 658-8800. Gentlemen, if you want to look your best with high-quality clothing, then I recommend Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors in downtown Newcastle. Mike Caggiano is the owner, and he and his staff have been in the business for decades, and they will always give you the right recommendations. They also carry Rondinelli tuxedos. That's Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors, 210 East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle. Call 724-652-3851.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Corner, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that segment of my, I would say, rant about the New England Patriots and the NFL. But let's keep to the NFL. But I want to actually talk about another controversial topic and a controversial player by the name of Terrell Owens. Growing up, I hated Terrell Owens. He was cocky, he was arrogant, he was dominant. And I didn't like that. Being a Steeler fan, we had the good, we had the classy football players, the Heinz Ward, the Troy Polamalu. Well, I don't know if, some people might disagree that Heinz Ward is classy, but he definitely wasn't a showboater to the extent that Terrell Owens was. But my whole thing is, this is the second time in a row Terrell Owens has been left out of the Hall of Fame. Wide receivers typically have trouble getting into the Hall of Fame. And what happens is that they eventually get in, but it takes them quite a bit of time. I mean, it took Chris Carter 6 years to get in. Are you kidding me? He was like the godfather of wide receivers. Now, of course, Jerry Rice, the exception. Marvin Harrison is in now. But my whole thing is when it comes to Terrell Owens is how do you tell the NFL story without Terrell Owens? The Hall of Fame is like it tells the history of the NFL. You cannot tell the history of the NFL without Terrell Owens. You can't tell the history of the NFL without Randy Moss. And you can't tell the history of the NFL without Chris Carter. Now, the Hall of Fame, in their, criteria, the way they allegedly kind of evaluate players is supposed to be what they do on the football field. Now, I don't know if that's honestly coming into play. There's obviously a human element, when, the selection committee, when anyone that has a vote, is, in that room talking about, what players should be in, what players should be left out. And I think a lot of things that are held against Owen, actually not I think, I know a lot of things that are held against Owens is his character, his behavior. Skip Bayless from ESPN called Terrell Owens TO for team obliterator. Now, I definitely think that, Terrell Owens earned that reputation. Like I said, he was a showboater, he was arrogant, he was cocky, he had those feuds with Donovan, McNabb, Mariucci, Garcia. He did that celebration when he stood on the Dallas Cowboys star. He spread out his arms, gloated. There was those behaviors merit those, reputations of him. But the thing is I'm not completely convinced he was a team obliterator. Did he make every team he was on better? I would say so. Did he make the 49ers better? I would say so. He learned from the best under Jerry Rice. He was brought to Philly to help get them over to the hump and get to the Super Bowl. He played in the Super Bowl with screws in his ankle. And, even after he left Philly, the other teams, the Bills, Cowboys, Bengals, he did considerably well with them. And at the end of the day, how can you leave out someone who's third all-time in receiving touchdowns? How could you leave out someone who has the stats to back it up? So he might not necessarily have Hall of Fame behavior, but he had Hall of Fame talent and Hall of Fame production. And that's why I think Terrell Owens should be in the Hall of Fame. And if he doesn't get in next year, then I think it's pretty easy to say the Hall of Fame voting process is a flawed process. All right, we're going to take another break here. And now a word from our sponsors.
If you want to score big, then get over to Shenango Auto Mall. George Fiacco, General Sales Manager, and his experienced staff will be glad to talk to you about all the amazing used car deals from their huge inventory. Lifetime powertrain warranties, extended warranties, and guaranteed credit approval. They have a body shop and full detail shop. It's not your normal used car lot. They also buy cars, trucks, and SUVs. Shenango Auto Mall is located at 2515 Elwood Road in Shenango Township. Call 724-698-7304.
The Branding Iron Bar and Grill, a great place to gather.
Some examples from the menu: 45-cent jumbo wings with 30 different kinds of sauce, meatball sub and fries, $5.50, hot cheese balls and burgers, and delicious large sandwiches. Stop in during happy hour, 4:30 to 7:30. You can dine in or take out. The Branding Iron Bar and Grill is located at 2221 Ben Franklin Highway, Edinburgh. Call 724-658-1210.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Corner, everybody. For this last segment, I actually want to talk about University of Pittsburgh athletics, specifically basketball. Now, anyone who's been paying attention to Pitt athletics the past year knows that Jamie Dixon has gone and taken his talents to Texas Christian University. Pitt hired Kevin Stallings from Vanderbilt to be the next man up. A very controversial hire, or not a controversial hire, a very unfavorable and dislikable hire among the Pitt fan base. Pitt fans wanted a young up-and-comer. Pitt fans thought they could have done better, and there was a lot of hype and hope for a Sean Miller or even an Archie Miller to come to Pitt, but that was never going to happen. Pitt is now in the ACC, which is the most prestigious and most talented basketball conference in the history of the NCAA. The question became, was Kevin Stallings able to compete in the ACC? Well, obviously, had a down year for Pitt, their first losing season since 2001. Now, let's keep things into perspective here. There's a new coach, a new system. I'm not ready to write Kevin Stallings off yet, but I'm also not going to say he's going to be great either. I think it was just more of a time, it's time to change things. So at some point, this transition was bound to happen. Pitt showed promise, I thought, the start of this season. They beat Maryland on the road, but, they also lost to Duquesne. They beat, ranked Virginia earlier in the year. It was very up and down. They went through a slump, and they weren't really able to get out of it. But at the end of the day, I think Pitt fans are really starting to appreciate what they had in Jamie Dixon. Jamie Dixon, I thought, was a great coach and was the star of Pitt athletics. People have to realize that Pittsburgh does not produce ACC-level basketball recruits. Jamie Dixon, for 13-plus years, had to go into other people's backyard and build a program with recruits. Think about that. He had to go into other people's backyards and steal recruits to build a program. And he was really successful. But, of course, we all know of his lack of NCAA tournament success. Made it to the Elite Eight in 2008, missed the Final Four by a last-second layup to by Villanova. It is what it is. When Pitt joined the ACC, when they applied to go to the ACC, to me, I believe that's when everything went downhill. For the basketball program, I should say. Pitt was not able to recruit well anymore. They weren't getting, those four-star players. The last few years, Dixon had to build his teams off of junior college transfers. They weren't the same number one seed program that they were in 2008 and 2011. You know, things were just slipping. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the fans and even, you know, local prospects were getting bored of, you know, the whole, you know, we'll get 20-plus wins in the regular season, win a conference title here and there, go to the NCAA tournament and lose in the round of 32, especially with Dixon's grinded out, boring defense. So, a grinded out, boring offense, I should say. So, at the end of the day, I think Pitt fans are starting to realize what they had and are starting to miss Jamie Dixon. And, you know, I think it's going to be really hard for University of Pittsburgh athletics, especially their basketball, to really get to the, you know, top of the mountain here. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, that concludes our show for today. It's good to finally be back here on the Cedars Sports Corner.
This program furnished by Sporting Goods, 23 East Washington Street, Newcastle. Call 724-658-2535. Funding for this program provided by Washington Center Physical Therapy, Norm A. Gabriel, MSPT, ATC owner.